Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to thank Senator Blumenthal and his staff for the way they have worked with us on this, and Senator Klobuchar also. And I appreciate how different members have chosen to engage on this, some earlier in the process than others, and as Senator Blumenthal said, we'll continue to work with them because this is the way we can address what I see as a market failure. And of course, it has been met with resistance from dominant players in this space because they don't want additional competition. I do think it's important that we also acknowledge the human element as a part of this. Senator Blumenthal mentioned some of the support across the spectrum that we have received on this. I also want to point out that while Apple does a great job of making secure devices for consumers in the Western world, they go out of their way to make vulnerable groups less secure in other parts of the world. We've received an outpouring of support from dozens of human rights activists and groups who are very supportive of this legislation and see it as needed for the marketplace. An example, in China, individuals have a real and immediate need for protection from authoritarian regimes and are seeking to extinguish ethnic minorities in China. And Apple seems to go out of their way to strip these individuals of their privacy, which they desperately need. And I appreciate, as Senator Blumenthal has said, this is a complex task. And we have spent a great deal of time working on this. When I was in the House, we worked on this issue. We would get frustrated that the Senate would not take up issues dealing with security in the communications supply chain. So we need to continue to push the boundaries on this issue so that we can maintain our global competitiveness in the virtual space. I do think we have to note that big tech has proven time and again that they are unable and unwilling, one or the other, to come to Congress and to work with us. Their arrogance, the arrogance of some of the executives in the Silicon Valley who believe that they don't need to work with with those of us here in Congress is something that has not been lost on me. We have seen this, whether it was last Congress in the tech task force we had here at Judiciary Committee, or what we have confronted this year in our hearings at the Subcommittee on Consumer Protection. And I do believe it is our responsibility to the American people to provide robust accountability and oversight of these industries that are so prevalent in our daily lives. I don't want to say or have people think that I'm saying that big tech is bad, because big is not bad, but it is clear that guardrails are now needed. We have to put them in place as companies use more of our data, and as they continue to grow, we want to make certain this is a secure marketplace. And it is important that our agenda adapt with the times and the technology and realize that it has outpaced legislation to such a grave extent that more burdensome measures are now necessary to rein in big tech and get those guardrails in place. This bill is not about breaking up companies, but I think it does send a message, as do other pieces of legislation we're working on, that companies are not going to be able to come lobby their way out of this, that they do need to be accountable to the consumer marketplace, and that it is going to be us working with the FTC, working with the state's attorneys general that will make certain that we have solutions that are enforceable. So the manager's amendment does reflect a tremendous amount of bipartisan work, and I do thank everyone for engaging and those who will continue to engage on this. We've worked to address many of the concerns that both members and industry have raised, and we're looking forward to continuing that work as we move it to the floor for a vote. And I thank my colleagues for their good work on the effort and urge a yes vote.
Thank you, Senator Blackburn.